This video is going to be a different one, to say the least. I'm a recovering addict. I've been sober for 3 years as of about a week ago. Thanks a ton for your anticipated applause. I never thought this to be possible, and things have improved for me immensely over that time, in ways I never thought they could. It's sometimes hard to get across to people what life was like before I got sober, why it was so hard to break out of a cycle everyone else could so clearly see was damaging to me and those around me. This game's themes seem to address some of these things in ways only a video game could accomplish. First impressions of Katana Zero make it seem like it's another in a slew of highly stylized, polished indie games we have all become so accustomed to. Before I say anything about the themes I want to cover, I'd like to say that this is a fantastic game, even with all of the deeper meaning I found in it removed. I did multiple playthroughs and never once felt bored. It just feels great to play. The swing of the katana is satisfying. There's a very cool slow motion feature, which allows you to dodge attacks and reflect bullets back at enemies, and it plays the whole thing back at regular speed when you complete a screen in a fashion similar to Super Hot. The main character, Zero, has powers that are contextualized by the game's narrative. Again, nothing we haven't seen before. He's on a drug called Chronos that allows him to slow time and can reverse time if he dies, giving an in-game explanation to trying again after death. One thing I haven't seen before is how it is used in conversations and interactions outside of combat. But the thing that really makes this drug a unique inclusion is its ability to incorporate the themes of the story into the gameplay. It delivers its narrative to you via very stylish text akin to Undertale. It's laid out with a combination of animated words with varying fonts and colors. This, combined with the sound effects and the subtle animation and design of the characters, gives off a shockingly clear feel of what they are like outside of this pixelated world. Like you could picture exactly how a live-action version would look and sound. The killing manages to be displayed in a gruesome way despite the retro graphics. And it's not just violence for violence's sake, it's to display how wrong the actions of the main character really are. The world has a neon 80s aesthetic with music that ranges from bumping synth to dramatic piano melodies to more subdued tracks. This combination with the range of environments and intensity of scenes creates a very dynamic game moment to moment. You go from the fast-paced killing sprees Zero is contracted for during the day to the quiet, lonely moments he has at his run-down apartment during the night. The cycle of the game is generally go do contract, go home and sleep, then go to psychiatrist's office and repeat. The psychiatrist is the one pushing drugs onto Zero and giving him contracts from a mysterious shared employer. The psychiatrist made me feel parallels to my own experience in an almost literal way as well as a metaphorical one. I'm not sure if any of you have been or have known someone who is addicted to something they were prescribed, but for a long time, my drug of choice was Xanax. I could never get enough from a doctor to fulfill my habit once I had gotten into full swing, but each cycle of relapse always started right from a doctor's prescription. Many picture an addict going into a psychiatrist's office and acting as if they don't have a problem to get these drugs, but this was largely not the case for me. I told the psychiatrist directly that I'd flushed the pills because I knew I was addicted. She immediately asked me if I wanted more. I caved. I did the same thing with another psychiatrist that barely listened to me. It's like she didn't even hear. On several occasions, I left believing she had stopped prescribing me the pills, but when I showed up to the pharmacy, they had another bottle full of Xanax ready and waiting for me. I caved again and again and again. So watching this same cycle between Zero and a psychiatrist felt hauntingly similar. You could try to refuse the drug and he would still give it to you. You also had dialogue choices at the other end of the spectrum that felt all too familiar as well, where you demanded he get to the point and give you the drug. These interrupts exist as an option throughout the entirety of the game. The one-track angry mind of an addict, just trying to break through to that next pill, that next moment of relief. The not-so-direct way in which the psychiatrist painfully mirrored the cycle of addiction is by making Zero feel like this is all he is good for. At points telling him he was a bad person, reinforcing this idea that this is the only life he could lead. This was my inner monologue at the time of using. I did to myself exactly what that psychiatrist was doing to Zero. But this message that Zero is a bad person to his core isn't true. This is evidenced by his relationship to the little girl that lived next door to him. She has negligent parents and Zero cares for her. Even if you try to do a run where you rush through and do every possible conversation interrupt, which hurt my heart to do, by the way, you still end up helping her whenever possible. This demonstrates to the player that even if they choose to play the worst version of Zero possible, there is still a good person inside. Most of his actions are destructive and horrible, but he has the capacity to care, to help, and to remove himself from that cycle of destruction. This hit home with me. I mean, I didn't exactly murder when I was using. If you don't count my stand-up sets. I'm sorry, I was just trying to add some levity. But I did make countless mistakes. You may not have known it if you just met me briefly. You'd likely think I was just a decent dude who also happened to be excruciatingly handsome and charming. But if you were close to me, you knew I was a tornado to myself and those around me. I hurt the people closest to me, I was impulsive, and I was toxic. But I, at my core, always wanted to be good, which is what made this time in my life as painful as it was. I hated my actions. I felt I constantly had to numb myself to escape them. Then the process of numbing myself led me down the same path of making those mistakes. I was stuck in a loop, as was Zero. The Chronos forced him to keep repeating parts of the game after every single fuck-up. He needs it to get through. He needs those extra tries and that ability to slow things down for a bit. This raises the question every addict has. Can I do this without it? Without the crutch? The answer this game provides seems to be no. You can't if you are anything short of perfect. This may seem like an odd answer to this question in a video where I started by saying I had been sober for 3 years, but it goes deeper than the surface of that question. What that answer really means is that you can't do what you are doing right now without the drugs. You can't continue to destroy and then numb yourself repeatedly. What you can do without the drugs is fix things, is live a better life. This is the question that should be asked. Can you be better without the drugs? This both shifts the question and changes the answer. This is so hard to see when you're in the midst of it, though. When time keeps feeling like it's looping, when you have only ever gotten worse. Looping, cycles, the most important part of this game, and something those who have struggled with addiction are all too familiar with. Over and over. I can't feel this. I don't know how to feel this. I'm a bad person. I'm a degenerate. I'm not ever meant to be okay. I can't pull out of this. I need the drugs. Everything just keeps repeating. I need to be numb. I can't feel this. I deserve this. I can't make it out. But you can. This game is less of a message and more of a cautionary tale. There is no good ending to this game. There is an end where you allow yourself to die partway through, and one where you finish the game. Everything leading up to the actual end while finishing the game has all the trappings of being a typical good ending to a game, like the binary so many games fall into, good or bad. Zero shows immense character growth in one part in particular. He is looking out at the city with the little girl. He throws his wartime medal off of the building. He does this because he used to think this medal was the only reminder he had done something good, something positive in his life. But he realizes the true good he's done is taken care of this little girl when no one else will. He vows to protect her and has the opportunity to spend more time with her. Also, if you choose your dialogue options correctly earlier in the game, Zero even has this receptionist woman ask him on a date, but he never stops using the Chronos. The damage is already done. He never breaks that cycle. If you played the game, you know Zero technically never really even had a choice. It was made clear to him that if he stopped, the withdrawal would slow time and he would be tortured for eternity. This is a fitting analogy for the irrational fear addicts have of quitting, so he just kept going. And for that, the person closest to him pays the ultimate price. It is deeply upsetting. Easily one of the darkest games I've ever played. But this twisted metaphor doesn't have to be the case for every addict. It can be fixed. It takes so much work, though, and you have to acknowledge the damage you've already done. It isn't something you can do alone. I hope this video shed some light on what addiction is really like, and maybe even showed some degree of hope to someone watching who is afflicted with this directly. I give Katana Zero a rating of, no matter what's going on, please get help. I swear on my life, things will get better, and you and everyone around you will ultimately be happier out of 10. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, and click the notification bell.